this chalice to honor our past and to honor those who came before us. Is okay? Good, thank you.
Good morning. My name is Vicki Warden, your worship associate for today. Welcome to West Shore Unitarian Universalist Church, a church that is not just a place, it is a people. We are a people of all ages and genders and abilities. We bring together all of our experiences, our fears, and our hopes so that we can work together for healing and justice in our community, our nation, and the world. We especially welcome all newcomers. If you are here in person, be sure to stop by the Welcome Center out by the parking lot hallway. If you are joining us on YouTube, good morning. Our membership and engagement coordinator, Diane Alcorn, would love to reach out to you. Her contact information is being added as we speak. For details on all church events and activities, please see our website, our new website, or our weekly e-news, which is sent to all members on Friday. Thank you for joining us today. We are very, very glad that you are here. May we light this chalice to honor our past and to honor those who came before us. May we light this chalice to endorse our present and to those who are committed to truth and justice. May we light this chalice to symbolize our future and help us to provide a brighter future for all.
Let us now witness to the unity of our spirit by saying together our unison affirmation words. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia y el servicio suele. Este es nuestro magnífico convenio. Vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad en el amor y ayudarnos los unos a los otros.
We come to this good morning, remembering the journey of freedom. The land we are on was once another's. We mourn the legacies of oppression. Healing is our way forward. Joy is the birthright of all.
And now let us greet each other as feels mutually comfortable. If you like, you may include in your greeting a wave at the folks at home participating via live stream. Just turn around, wave at the camera. I am told that the folks at home actually wave back. Let's greet each other now. And now we turn to our first hymn of the day. This first hymn is about peace. It is a call to peace. Armed conflicts are happening all around our world right now, in Asia, in Africa, South America, and now in Europe, with Russia's unjustified attack against Ukraine. As a people of faith, we sing out our faith about peace and the need to respect the integrity and the dignity and diversity of nations. And so now together, we will sing number 159, "This is My Song." Please stand as you are willing and able.
With all the craziness for the last 2 years, it's been impossible to miss the significance of our 75th anniversary. Just think, we UUs have been a force in this very community for 75 years. That would put our founding in the second half of the 1940s, a really great time for those of us who are old enough and lucky enough to have been alive then. The 1940s, think about that. But you know, I wasn't a kid here on the west side. I was a kid in an eastern suburb who had absolutely no idea of life outside my neighborhood in the Kinsman and Lee area of Shaker Heights. The west side of Cleveland was good for only one thing: the zoo. Every year, we crossed the Cuyahoga and went to the Cleveland Zoo, but then scurried back home. Even our all-time favorite, the Euclid Beach, was on the east side, quite a bit north, but even it was east. But you know, those are nostalgic times, the 1940s. I walked to school every day. I walked home for lunch, had lunch with my mother, walked back to school, and in the afternoon I came home, stopping by the little grocery store for a penny or two, or even a nickel on some great occasions, for candy or gum, preferably not those wax teeth that my mother hated. Lunch was either peanut butter, tomato soup, or Kraft dinner. None of that healthy green stuff for us. But you know, summers were the best in the 1940s. We went out after breakfast, but we were expected to be home when it started to get dark. No play dates, no summer camps. Just game after game on our front porches, mostly Monopoly, or Parcheesi, or Sorry, if you remember that old one. Just about every day we walked to the corner of the Franklin ice cream store, where you could get a single dip for a nickel, and needless to say, a double dip for 10 cents. And every Saturday, I went to the Shaker Theater for their matinee. I had 2 dimes in my pocket, 1 dime to get in, and a second dime for popcorn. That was 75 years ago, obviously a very, very long time ago. I found out about the West Side about 40 years ago, when I made my first visit to West Shore in 1980, when I moved to Avon Lake. Oh, what a cool church. My parents were members of the UU Church in Shaker, but I hadn't really gone there. I loved West Shore. The service, the organ, the Friday night singles group, the annual art sale, all there for my personal enjoyment. But as happens, life moved on, and so did I. I kept dropping back in and out of West Shore, depending upon my mood, my timing, and frankly, my attitude. Oh, sure, I always threw a few dollars in the collection plate when I attended, but I really didn't give a thought to the financial concerns of the continuing existence of this church. I just expected the church to always be there waiting for me. Several years ago, my life took yet another turn, and I really needed the solace and support of a community, the West Shore community. And once again, you, the members, came through and were there for me. I had been a pretty fickle attendee, and just really always assumed that you would be. And thanks to so many of you, you made that happen. But now it's time for me to put on my big girl dress and become a real member of this beloved community. Since joining as a member 6 years ago, I have become not only involved in several activities, but I've had my eyes open to the very complex operation of a church's continuing existence. Contrary to what I probably thought for way too many years, it doesn't just happen. A vibrant, active church is the result of many people who support it, through personal involvement, through financial commitment. But without those two, West Shore wouldn't have been here for the past 75 years, waiting for me to get my act together. But you know what? You committed yourselves for the past 75 years, and now I'm here to help commit to the next 75. Well, maybe not 75, that's a little extreme, but as much as I can. I can show my gratitude in a number of ways. But you know, without financial commitment, all the others can't happen. So I need to start there. I do owe you older members, those who have supported this church financially for years and years, while I enjoyed the fruits of your labors. You know what? I'm going to throw in a little extra this year, kind of like paying your overdue library fines. But sincerely, thank you. Thank you for being here for the past 75 years. I am truly grateful.
Let us now enter into a time of prayer and meditation. Today, I have a reading for you from a book entitled Kitchen Table Wisdom by Dr. Rachel Naomi Remen, who is a pioneer in the field of mind-body health. She says, while an impulse towards wholeness is natural and exists in everyone, each of us heals in their own way. Some time ago, a young man was referred to me by an imagery training program for people with cancer. Jim was an air traffic controller at a major airport. He was a solid, steady, reserved kind of guy. He told me with embarrassment that he was the only one in the imagery class who couldn't stick to the program. He didn't know why. He wanted to fight the cancer and get well. He loved his work, his family, looked forward to raising his little boy. I didn't see much in the way of self-destructiveness here, so I asked him to tell me a little more about his imagery. By way of an answer, he unfolded the drawing of a shark. The shark's mouth was huge and open and filled with sharp, pointy teeth. For 15 minutes, 3 times a day, he was to imagine thousands of tiny sharks hunting through his body, savagely attacking and destroying any cancer cells they found. It was a fairly traditional pattern of immune system imagery used by countless people. I asked him what seemed to prevent him from doing the meditation. With a sigh, he said he had found it boring. The training had gone badly from the start. On the first day, the class had been asked to find an image for the immune system. In subsequent discussion, he had discovered that he had not gotten the right sort of image. The whole class and the psychologist/teacher had worked with him until he came up with the shark. I looked at the drawing on his lap. The contrast between it and this reserved man was striking to me. Curious, I asked what his first image had been. Looking away, he mumbled, "Not vicious enough." It had been a catfish. A catfish. I was intrigued. I knew nothing about catfish, had never seen one before, and no one had ever talked about them taking a healing role before. With growing enthusiasm, he described what catfish do in an aquarium, how they are tireless in their job as bottom feeders who sift the sand through their gills, evaluating constantly what is waste and what is not waste, eating what no longer supports the life of the aquarium. They never sleep. They are able to make many rapid and accurate decisions. Jim was an air traffic controller, and it made sense to him. That's what he did. I asked him to describe a catfish for me in a few words. He came up with such words as discerning, vigilant, impeccable, thorough, steadfast, and trustworthy. Not bad, I thought. Is there something else? I asked him. Nodding, he told me that catfish grew really big where he had been raised. And at certain times of the year, they would literally walk across the roads. When he was a child, this struck him as a sort of miracle. And he never tired of watching them. He had kept several as his pets. "Jim," I asked him, "what is a pet for you?" He looked surprised. He said, "Why, a pet is something that loves you, no matter what." So I asked him to go with his own imagery. Closing his eyes, he spoke of millions of catfish that never slept, that moved through his body, vigilant, untiring, dedicated, and discriminating, patiently examining every cell, passing by the ones that were healthy, eating the ones that were cancerous, motivated by a pet's unconditional love and devotion. And then he opened his eyes. "This may sound silly," he said, "but I feel grateful for them, for their care." From this point on, he did his catfish meditation daily for a year. And years later, after a full recovery, he continued to practice a few times a week. He says it reminds him that on the deepest level, his body is on his side. And that's the reading. I invite you to take any piece of it that stood out for you with you, as now we enter into the wise silence. And now, you are invited to write something down that expresses your heart, a need, a hope, a hurt, something you're thankful for. Prayer cards are available to you in the pew in front of you. What you write will be held in confidence, and if you request a follow-up, I or a member of our pastoral care team will reach out to you. Once you're done, hold on to your card. You'll place it in the offering basket when that goes around in a moment. And if you are at home and wish to participate, please send me an email. Share your thoughts with me directly in that way. Let's pause for a moment as we do this. If you have filled out a card, please hold those up high. These are the sorrows and joys of our hearts, which I will take into my meditations this week and will pray for all that is our lives.
For all that is our life, we sing our thanks. to build the common good and make our own taste glad.
And now I invite up here to the pulpit Carol and Karen. Please, Carol Sweet, Karen Kircher.
I have to say to Vicki, before we get started, that her memories are so similar to mine, being born at the end of the 40s, and I lived on the west side, and it was Euclid Beach for us. That was it for summer. That made the summer. Good morning, I'm Karen Kircher, and along with Carol Sweet and Jodith Janes. Is Jodith here? Okay. And Danny Dunchak, who's in the back helping us out on sound. We make up your Jubilee Pledge team for this year's annual Jubilee Pledge. When I first visited West Shore, it was the year 2000. I walked into the shabbiest, grayest entryway. It was like a tunnel with lockers for some reason on either side. Those of you that have been around are laughing because it's true. This is before gray was fabulous, by the way. And the sermon was about capital punishment, and which I thought was interesting. And one of the readings was from Dead Men Walking. And I thought, wow, this is what I've been looking for my whole life, a place where religion is relevant and interesting and meaningful. Where have you been? Now, after the service, Edie Schwady met me with a cup of coffee outside the old women's restroom, which is now the beautiful rotunda kitchen, so you can't even visualize what this place looked like before that. Very different. And I was hooked on this church after that. How many people have created this space and contributed to its missions and values? Reverend Baker, our visionary founders who are listed on the plaque at the rear of the sanctuary, this gorgeous handmade furniture designed and built by Bob French, the Tilkeys who donated our gorgeous organ, and everyone who helped to refurbish it this past summer. Roy Prentice's vision for a welcome center, which we funded through a virtual t-shirt sale. Our ad said, "Perfect fit never fades." In fact, you don't even have to take it home with you because it was virtual. And that welcome center also serves as a bar, a perfect bar for most of our social events here at church. Very welcoming. A successful capital campaign in 2004 recreated this space from the parking lot down to Baker Hall, and including the redecorating of our sanctuary. We are literally sitting under an umbrella of solar panels brought about through the diligence of Tom Smith and the many of us who purchased one. We were literally able to live out our seventh principle, respecting the interdependent web of all life. Many of us here have been angels and pride events. We worked with Family Promise as hosts, food bank volunteers, urban promise friends, or community gardeners, honoring the inherent worth and dignity of all people. Our relationship with our partner church in Romania, community outreach through our child care center, the electric sign in front, our new sound system, the acoustical tiles in Baker Hall, our memorial garden, all provided by members and friends who appreciate the role that West Shore plays in helping us to live our values of inclusion, justice, and love every day. Speaking of love, many of us have found our partners, our lasting friends, and travel buddies right here. In fact, I greeted my husband, Kevin, 13 years ago when I was working the Welcome Center. I call that radical hospitality. The 140 of us, brand new members that have joined our church the past 5 years, are standing under trees that people planted before they came. Our children and grandchildren will worship in the space being created today and in the year ahead by all of us. I can't wait to see what trees will be planted, and I only hope that I will live to enjoy some of their shade. As one of our 26 brand new members since the pandemic, since the church has been closed, Carol would like to share her thoughts with you.
Thank you, Karen. That's quite an act to follow. If we haven't met yet, my name is Carol Sweet, and I was honored to be asked as a new member to co-lead this pledge drive with Karen. Now, I've actually known Karen for quite a while. When I was growing up in Parma, she was one of my teachers at Pleasant Valley Junior High. And she was my social studies teacher. And Karen Auer was my biology teacher. And the two of them, along with Suzanne Rusnick, they also taught 3 of my sisters. So a big thank you from me and my family to all the teachers. And it's been, it had such a positive impact on our lives. My sisters and I talk about it a lot. And it's been really great experience getting to know them better now. A quick story about how I found my way back to West Shore. It had been many years since I had attended, but during the early days of the pandemic, my niece was getting married, and she was marrying into a Hindu family. And they had originally planned a big traditional Indian celebration over 3 days with hundreds of guests. But because of the pandemic, that was scaled back to just their parents and siblings in my sister's backyard. And I was watching at home alone on a live stream. And they still had a beautiful Hindu ceremony with all of its rituals and elaborate dress, and all of the 2 families participated. And then they took a break, they changed their clothes, and they had a very moving Christian ceremony. And I was watching this, and I said to myself out loud, out of, I don't know where, this reminds me of West Shore. And it was just the way this young couple was blending their beliefs and honoring their differences and their cultures. And it made me think of this place. So the next morning, I looked online and I found the live stream, and there was Karen Kircher on the welcome video. It's a very good sign. I listened to the service, and some very inspirational words from Reverend Makar, and beautiful music from David Blazer. But most importantly, I stayed and joined the online coffee hour. And I met some really kind and interesting folks, and I was hooked. So, I have found West Shore to be a place of friendship and community, of joy and inspiration, and also thought-provoking and challenging. And it has raised my standard of how I want to be in the world. A place like this building, this service, the music, all the things that Karen described, it doesn't just happen. It's built by the generosity and the time and resources of everyone who came before and everyone who's here now. And I want to do my part to see that it continues on in the future. Because I think what we do here really matters to the greater community, but more importantly, to ourselves and to each other. So I'm humbled and grateful that you've all welcomed me here, and I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
The Jubilee Pledge begins right now. This week you'll be receiving your pledge materials. You can go online at Realm, and if you're a little hazy about that process, Suhana Kiris will guide you through it and even decide between the two of you how you want to go about making that pledge. But this is a very special time, as everyone keeps saying, 75 years of a West Side presence and service to the community, the world, and to each other. Mark on your calendar, March 20th, we are going to have a spring Jubilee brunch in Baker Hall. This will be the first time in 2 years that we have shared a meal together in Baker Hall, and we'll get to try out those new acoustical tiles, see if they work. Thank you, Jerry Devis, for helping set those up. And bring your family as well. The most exciting thing, it's the first day of spring on March 20th, and the exact moment of spring will be occurring during our brunch, 11-something. Officially, spring will begin. What a symbol! What a symbol! I love it. Thank you, and be generous so we can expand the work of this wonderful place. Thanks.
So who remembers the radio station, The Wave? I miss that station. I would routinely listen to it every Friday and Saturday night on my way to whatever club I was playing it at because it would kind of get me in the mood. And I heard this song many years ago and I just fell in love with it, but I didn't catch the name of it. And so I kept listening and listening so they would play it again. Finally caught the name of it and tried to track down the music until, lo and behold, this last year I found the music to it. And in honor of Black History Month, Joe samples from his album, Old Places, Old Faces. This is Hippies on a Corner.
Spanish poet Antonio Machado writes, "Last night, as I was sleeping, I dreamt, marvelous error, that a spring was breaking out in my heart. I said, along which secret aqueduct, O water, are you coming to me, water of a new life that I have never drunk? Last night, as I was sleeping, I dreamt, marvelous error, that I had a beehive inside my heart, and the golden bees were making white combs of sweet honey out of my old failures. Last night, as I was sleeping, I dreamt, marvelous error, that a fiery sun was giving light inside of my heart. It was fiery because I felt warmth as though from a hearth, and sun because it gave light and brought tears to my eyes." That is the poem from Antonio Machado, and right now I want you to sleep the sleep of this poem and dream its dream. A spring breaking out in your heart, water of a new life, golden bees furiously busy, all of your old failures and sadnesses transformed, becoming sweet honey, sweet nourishment inside your heart. A sun warming you up and lighting you up, filling you with the fire of courage to face a difficult world. You are dreaming this dream of living water and golden bees and a fiery sun. And how does it feel? I hope it feels wonderful. And the good news that I want to talk about today is that this is not just the stuff of sleep and dreams. When we Unitarian Universalists say that all people have inherent worth and dignity, when we affirm and promote our first principle, what we are doing is echoing the marvelous errors and impossibilities of this poem. We are saying they are real, even in those moments when our conscious ego is overwhelmed by fatigue and worry and sadness or something else. It is a matter of religious faith. We have faith that springs of pure water are flowing deep within us right now. We have faith that golden bees are working furiously on our deepest sadnesses right now. We have faith that a fiery sun is in us, warming us up from within right now. This is our first principle good news, which parallels the news of the reading from a moment ago, in which we saw mind-body health professional Rachel Naomi Remen working with a young man named Jim. There are several things of note in the story we will want to touch on, but here I simply want to acknowledge the basic topic of imagery meditation as a means of boosting the immune system in its work of attacking and destroying cancer cells. I found myself profoundly moved by the thought that if in our bodies there is a natural impulse towards healing and wholeness, there is a natural impulse towards the same thing in our spirits. Jim, in the reading, visualizes millions of catfish moving through his body, vigilant, untired, dedicated, patiently examining every cell, and we envision the good news of our spiritual immune system at work in us, our inherent worth and dignity of living water and golden bees and fiery sun. Even if we might not be in the fight for our physical lives, like Jim, we are all fighting for the sake of our souls against ignorance, apathy, prejudice, greed, warmongering, and other unhealthy, addictive patterns in ourselves and the larger world, which do grow like cancers. They do, cancers of the spirit, killing justice, killing kindness, multiplying egregiously. Someone once said, "Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a great battle." And we can know this, that the Unitarian Universalism, which for 75 years has served this community and serves us now, will not let us down. We are building on foundations we did not lay. We are warming ourselves by fires we did not light. We are sitting in the shade of trees we did not plant. We are drinking from wells we did not dig. Thank God for the ancestors who have paved the way, whose love we are now in receivership of. It strengthens us so we can be strong for this world. It enables us to say to each other the words of the father of universalism in America, John Murray, said more than 200 years ago. He said, "Go out into the highways and the byways of America. Give the people something of your vision. You may possess only a small light, but uncover it, let it shine. Use it in order to bring more light and understanding to the hearts and minds of men and women. Give them not hell, but hope and courage." Say that back to me. Give them not hell, but hope and courage. As you know, we are beginning our annual pledge campaign for the program year starting July 1st, which we are calling Building Across Generations, the next 75 years. We are inviting everyone to make a pledge, which is a stated intention for how much your financial contribution will be over the course of a year. Our goal as a church is to rally more people to the purpose of changing lives and creating justice-hearted folks. And we are asking everyone, how do you see yourself being a part of that? How can you help to make that happen? How can your gifts of money and time and energy help us to do even more to fulfill John Murray's historic charge of give them not hell, but hope and courage? Everything tuned to that. Everything tuned to helping people release the aliveness that is all too often trapped within them, releasing it so that it becomes a force for good in our relationships and in our communities. This is what justice-heartedness is. Fact is, if our inherent worth and dignity of living water, golden bees, and fiery sun is a reality, so is the experience of feeling disconnected from all of that. Or rather, maybe feeling connected in moments of sleep, as we saw in the poem. But when we wake up, the dream and its sweetness slips like sand through our fingers, and we are not left with much. This is exactly why John Murray would say, give them not hell, but hope and courage, because he knew hellishness, as did every one of his listeners. And we know it all too well today. We know it all too well today as we watch the proliferation of anti-transgender legislation across this country, which is seeded by ignorance and prejudice. That is hellish. Watching what is happening with our democracy is hellish. Watching what is happening with our planet is hellish. Watching Russia invade Ukraine is absolutely hellish. Hellishness, we know. But there is so much more than that also. There is hope and courage also. There is living water. There are golden bees. There is a fiery sun. But then comes the question: how to help people feel more connected to that? Once again, the reading from earlier is instructive. One of the main lessons is the importance of other people. We need others to help us to tap into the sweetness within, which is paradoxical, I agree, since we are born already with water, with living water in us. We are born already with the golden bees working within. We are already born with the fiery sun. It's already in there. No one has to put it in there for us. Yet to access them or to reopen a way to them, we need others. Emily White speaks to this in her amazing book entitled Lonely, a Memoir. She says, when our social networks thin out or crumble, we have fewer points of reference available to us in thinking about who we are and who we would like to be. Social networks flesh us out. When they're lacking, it can start to feel as though there is less of us. Loneliness makes it hard to engage in self-definition. That's what she says. In other words, you really can't be Unitarian Universalist all by yourself. It doesn't work. Community is key. And so I thank you for your generosity, which sustains this community and which will help this community rebound from the social distancing of the past several years, because that has frayed our fabric. To rebound from that, we need community. We need it to feel connected to our good news and to our own depths. But I hasten to say, not just any kind of community. It's got to be a community in which people feel respected and safe. It has got to be a community centered in covenant, which we unapologetically insist on, because we know that when we allow abusive people and bullies to run the place, well, that prevents us from doing the hard spiritual work we are called to do. We just can't do it then. Community then becomes the problem, not part of the solution. Community also becomes a problem when it undermines our capacity to trust ourselves. And we see this so clearly in Jim's story. On the first day of that imagery training program, he and others were asked to find an image for their immune system. And what came to him spontaneously was perfect for him: the image of a catfish, which act just like him in his job as an air traffic controller, discerning, never sleeping, vigilant, impeccable, thorough, steadfast. Yet that same imagery training program that enabled him to discover that wonderful image that was wonderful for him, that training program turned right around and told him that he had gotten the wrong image. The program folks told him that you are not supposed to get a catfish, you're supposed to get a shark. Yeah, here, they said, let's work with you. In other words, pressure you, indoctrinate you, scare you, until you see that the shark is the best. The shark is inevitable. The shark is the one way, one truth, one light. No wonder Jim got bored with his imagery meditation, even though what was at stake for him was his very life. I think his boredom was a form of healthy resistance to something that violated his integrity. And you know, it's like that for so many people today. They respond to the only kind of religion they know about with boredom. I mean, what's the statistic these days? Something like 30% of Americans are unaffiliated with any sort of religion because they can't find a religious way that honors their inner wisdom and gives it authority. They are forced to go it alone and to try to be spiritual all by themselves. And we just heard how that does not work. Loneliness causes pain. I'm talking physiological pain. Loneliness literally makes the world seem more dangerous than it really is. Did you know that? We exist to heal that pain, that loneliness. We exist to be the sort of religion that asks the most urgent and compelling questions there are. What is my purpose in life? How can I be more loving? What is the meaning of suffering? How can I feel more hopeful? And on and on and on. To ask all of these questions and then to listen to the answers that people give, answers that are born out of their life history and earned experience. And these answers, they come in beautiful, shining rainbow colors. And our job is to listen and to honor, and for us all to go even deeper, even deeper. For we today are the trustees of an almost 460-year-old religious tradition that guides us in just this way. We've got to thank the blessed ancestors. Their gift to us today is a gift that so many people hunger for, even though they may not know how to translate their hunger into understanding. They don't know that they don't know that a religion like ours even exists. We must reach out to help more of these people to find us. We must reach out to heal this suffering. We must remember we are purpose-driven in this faith, in this religion, to connect with the spirit of life, to release the vitality that is in us, in all we do, release it into all that we do and all that we are. And we have to follow this purpose faithfully wherever it may lead us. Jim, in the reading, was led to his catfish image. And who knows where you will be led to, or where I'll be led to, or how things may change in the course of our journeys. Say that I am describing to you, right now, I am describing to you our inherent worth and dignity in terms of inner living waters and golden bees and a fiery sun, and you're listening to those images and you're just like, meh, that doesn't connect. And my answer to you is great, great, because I see that as the divine spark within you at work. It is at work in the very resistance that you may be feeling to those images that I just put out there. A different image is waiting for you, one that will inspire you truly. And we just say amen to that. Yes. Your job is to keep on searching, and we're going to encourage you on your way. Jim had his catfish image, and who knows what yours might be, but you got one. It's waiting for you. It's a process. And our faith tradition says, go for it. Allow yourself to be led to the spiritual immune system images that do energize you. Trust the process. Trust it like a pregnant mother trusts her food cravings. Pickles and ice cream. Pickles and ice cream and peanuts. pickles and ice cream and peanuts and sardines, all topped with chocolate sauce. Awesomely unique combinations. Maybe you are a Jewish, Buddhist, Christian, Unitarian Universalist with a side of Wicca. Cool! It is John Murray's hope and courage being born in you. Of course, the process can be messy, but we can trust it. And we need communities that support us in wholeheartedly giving us courage, supporting us, loving us, strengthening our self-trust. That is why we exist and need to keep on existing for the next 75 years and more. And that is why we are calling this year's pledges Jubilee Pledges. And so when you make your Jubilee Pledge this year, imagine, what role can you play as an ancestor to folks 75 years from now? Let me also say finally that we need communities which provide concrete coaching for our spiritual lives. Jim, in the reading, comes to his image of the catfish because the imagery training program he attended created intentional space and time for this and teaches him how, gives him steps to practice. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Then there was Dr. Remen's mentoring, which undid the damage that the training program unintentionally did. And similarly, we need communities that fulfill these teaching and mentoring functions. But as for the main emphasis that spiritual coaching and mentoring might take, well, we just might be surprised to find out what is most needed. I want you to consider a famous experiment conducted by 2 Princeton University psychologists, John Darley and Daniel Batson. Darley and Batson were inspired by a biblical parable of the Good Samaritan, in which a traveler who's been beaten and robbed and left for dead by the side of the road between Jerusalem and Jericho, right? Both a priest and a Levite, both pious, both worthy men. They come upon this poor, brutally beaten man, but they do not stop. They just pass on by. The only person to help was a Samaritan, a member of a despised minority. Darley and Batson's specific question had to do with why the priest and the Levite, presumably holy people, did not stop. And by extension, why we might not stop when we see a neighbor in need. Is it because people are generally selfish? Or they don't have enough information about ethical and spiritual theories? Or there's not enough concrete opportunities for help coming their way? To figure it out, Darley and Batson decided to recreate the Good Samaritan scenario. And with delicious irony, they chose as their subjects seminarians, ministers in training, the biggest idealists of them all. The short version is this. Darley and Batson met with a group of seminarians, invited them to prepare a short extemporaneous talk on the Good Samaritan parable, okay, and told them that they would have to walk over to a nearby building to present it. Some of them, however, were told that they were late and that they didn't have much time, so they had to book it. They had to hurry. Others were given the message that they had plenty of time. Take your time. You got all the time in the world. Both groups, on their way to the nearby building, they would encounter a man in an alley, slumped down, eyes closed, coughing and groaning, an actor, but appearing just like the traveler in the biblical parable. So here's what happened. 90% of the seminarians, in a rush, just stepped over the guy in the alley and hurried to their speech. Only 10% stopped. As for those not in a rush, 63% stopped. The learning is what made the difference had nothing to do with lack of opportunity to help. It had little to do with intellectual knowledge, awareness of ethical and spiritual theories. It wasn't about lacking a deep desire to help. Instead, it had everything to do with feeling distracted. People feeling a sense of urgency. They gotta hurry. It was about feeling rushed and falling prey to that feeling, letting it take over and dictate everything. As you and I envision ourselves being the ancestors for folks 75 years from now, as we are living more deeply into the meaning of our annual pledge drive slogan of building across generations the next 75 years, let's find more and more ways of supporting the growth of justice-heartedness in every one of us. We can hold over our heads big, shiny goals of changing the world, but if our energies are sapped by feelings of having no time, or worries about our personal relationships, or anxieties about parenting, or sadness because we feel lonely, or lack of confidence because we feel we don't know how to lead, then we're just not going to be able to use this building like it wants to be used. Same thing goes for the amazing big programs that we dream about. We can build them, but that does not mean people will show up. People will pass on by, like they did in the biblical parable, and then in the science experiment 2,000 years later. I am delighted with having had the opportunity to offer a full-day spirituality retreat this past November, which created a non-rushed spaciousness for the 30 or so folks who gave themselves this gift to come, to feel connected to community, to feel connected to the love that fundamentally we all are. Right now, we are offering a Spirit in Practice class that Megan Ross leads, and it comes with wonderful guest co-facilitators, and it's just all so good. We are making these moments of spiritual teaching and coaching happen, from our classes for our children and youth to our offerings for adults for all ages. We are living into this vision of being a coaching community, which is a community whose primary purpose is to build the sort of people who, when faced with the world's suffering, will stop and help. Church consultant Dan Hotchkiss put it like this: the goal is not so much to be a hospital to heal a broken world as to be a medical school that transforms people into healers. I love it. That's it. That's it. That's it right there. Right now, a spring is breaking out in your heart. Water of a new life. Right now, the golden bees are furiously transforming all of your old failures and sadnesses. Right now, there is a sun warming you up and lighting you up, filling you up with the fire of courage to face a difficult world. That is our Unitarian Universalist first principle good news. That is what the ancestors have suffered and sacrificed for to make that happen to us today. And now it is our turn to walk this talk. Your Jubilee Pledge this year is about walking the talk. It is one of the many practical ways of helping ourselves and everyone who comes our way to connect with the divine within, and then to release it all, to channel it all, so that that spring of water and those golden bees and the fiery sun leave the space of our dreams and they enter fully into waking life, where they can become a force, that will amaze. Let it be so. May it be so. Amen. We're going to sing number 1028, The Fire of Commitment, as our closing hymn. Please rise as you are willing and able.
Please join me in saying our chalice lighting words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry with us until we meet again.
A quick reminder, please join me for the sermon chat at 12:30 p.m. I will see you on Zoom. And now there's this. Okay, who's coming up here? Do you see that number right there? Come on up, come on up. We're gonna draw the winner of the raffle right now. Right now, so just hang out. Here we go. Am I wearing? So I don't know. First of all, show these guys and everyone involved with the auction team some love. I mean, come on. I'm gonna win this thing right. I got nothing.
I expect a croissant to come out of your pocket.
All right, $9,120 for the raffle. Whoa! So I am now going to choose the winner, who I guess gets half.
Correct.
And the other half goes where?
To the church.
Fantastic. And I just want to say, unfortunately, I didn't have an opportunity to break into Sue Hannah's office and like scratch out every name on those tickets and write mine in. So
We'll find out in a minute.
it's not going to be me. So here we go. Y'all ready?
Okay, so dump them in here.
We would also like to say thank you for everyone in any way who contributed to this effort. Whether you bought a raffle ticket, you originally bought a ticket to what we thought was going to be a live event, you participated in the silent auction that just ended last night, or came to the happy hour, whatever you did in support of us or the auction, we so appreciate you. Thank you.
These are such weird times, and we're making it work. And just thanks to everyone, thanks to these guys. Okay, all right. It's good, good.
Okay, here we go.
She was mixing it like a salad. Did you see that? Okay, here we go, here we go, here we go. Oh, yeah. All right, here we go. Oh, geez. Dorothy Richards. Dorothy Richards. Dorothy, if you're watching at home, dear, you got it. Now let me close this out with some benediction words. Thanks for your patience. We're running over a little bit. But I want us to notice that the fact that among us, we could generate this amount of money, and the winner could get so much, is all but proof of these following words from Peter Raible, which will serve as today's benediction. Together, we are more than any one person could be. Together, we can build across the generations. Together, we can renew our hope and faith in the life that is yet to unfold. Together, we can heed the call to ministry of care and justice. We are ever bound in community. May it always be so. Amen.